So it's Zelda's 35th anniversary, and as a big Zelda fan myself, I thought it was only appropriate to rank my top 10 games. And for this list, I'll only be tackling games that are on the official Zelda timeline, even though it's really complicated. But if you're looking for a certain game that isn't on the timeline, I'm sorry, but it won't be on my list. Coming in at number 10, I would say Link's Awakening. Originally coming out for the Game Boy in 1993, this game has technically seen two remakes, one for the Game Boy and then one for the Switch. This game is honestly just a good afternoon killer where you kind of just explore the island, do dungeons at your own choice, and see non-Zelda enemies in a Zelda game is kind of weird but cool. But at the end of the day, it was all just a dream. Which brings us to number 9, Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages. Released in 2001 for the Game Boy Color, in the timeline takes place right after Link's Awakening when Link actually reaches an island. Now, something I really like about these games are the fact that it's kind of a gimmick in which they're two sides of the same coin. You could play either game first or second, and if you link the two games, you get a completed ending in which you save Zelda. In Oracle of Seasons, you get to control the seasons on the island. And then in Oracle of Ages, you get to control the time. And it's a really neat idea in which I hope Nintendo one day goes back and remakes. Coming in at number 8, it's the Minish Cap, released in 2004 for the Game Boy Advance, and has the second game chronologically in the Zelda timeline. It kind of gives Link's cap a story in history. There's also a very neat gimmick of Link shrinking down to help diminish, a race of very tiny creatures who help Link along his adventure. Entering number 7, oh, people are gonna be mad at me for this, but Majora's Mask. Originally released in the year 2000 for the Nintendo 64, Majora's Mask is kind of seen as the dark child of the Zelda games, in which there are pretty dark elements touched upon. And it's also kind of creepy. I'm sure I'm not the only one who had nightmares from that moon. This game also features a neat gimmick of you only have 3 days to complete the game. And every time you fail to, you can rewind and start over, which allows you to explore different things as you retain the memory of what happened in the previous time. The game also takes place right after Ocarina of Time. It's always so cool to play those back to back. And speaking of games played together, number 6 is gonna be Wind Waker. I know I just made some people really upset, but I would say number 6 is Wind Waker for me. Originally released in 2002 for the GameCube, but I'm sure, just like me, many others had played this game first on the Legend of Zelda's Collector Edition, where it was just a demo on the disc. Now, from this game going forward, every other game on this list are games that I've played several times, and they are all like my favorites. I really love this game's art style and like the real Toon aesthetic that they pull off with this game. And honestly, Tunic is kind of one of my mains from Smash Brothers, so it's kind of funny. Plus, the music in this game, oh my god, I love Dragon's Island. I think that's honestly one of my favorite Zelda songs. And while I do love the open world ability to travel across the ocean, by god, do I sometimes get lost. So, moving on to number 5, halfway there. And this one's really gonna get me some flack because my number 5 is Skyward Sword. I know, oh my god, the controls, I hate the controls so much. Honestly, I never really had an issue with them, so I guess that's why I always saw this game so much better than others. Released 10 years ago, in 2011 for the Nintendo Wii, Skyward Sword was kind of the 25th anniversary special for the series. This game tackles the beginning of the timeline altogether, giving you the story of why Link, Zelda, and Ganon kind of are stuck in this endless tango. I really loved this game so much when it first came out. Like, I always replayed it, like, I think 3 times in 1 year. I loved all the dungeons and like I loved all the tools they gave you. So I really valued this game so much when it came out. Plus, it came with a soundtrack, so it was just a good time. And with the HD remaster coming out later this year, I'm already looking forward to get it. Those Joy-Con made especially for the game, I'm really tempted to re-get them, even though I just got the Animal Crossing ones last year. And like Aonuma kind of said, this game did introduce a lot of mechanics that we were going to see again in another game on this list. Speaking of, at number 4 is A Link Between Worlds, released in 2013 for the Nintendo 3DS. This game is honestly a very underrated game. Like, people don't talk about this game enough. It was one of my favorite games as well because it was so simplistic, but just a nice homage to the old games. It's kind of a rework of A Link to the Past world while still being something new and giving you new things to explore, as well as being able to just stick yourself to walls, go through little cracks, and meeting another place called Laurel, which Nintendo, please bring them back. I need Hilton back, please. Like, if anything, if that's what Breath of the Wild 2 is, I wouldn't be opposed. Coming in at number 3, it's gonna be Ocarina of Time, everyone's favorite. Released in 1998 for the Nintendo 64, this game was really what kind of revolutionized The Legend of Zelda as it is today. Like, without this game, we wouldn't probably be talking about it as much. Being able to play as both Child Link and Adult Link, time traveling, being able to just go around this whole Hyrule, seeing all these other people, all these characters, like this game was a masterpiece for its time. It's been released 3 separate times. Like, there's no reason to say that this game isn't amazing. And I wouldn't be opposed to this getting another remake, Nintendo. Just saying. But obviously, after some other much deserving games get their remakes and their time to shine. And before we get to the top 2, I'll just do some quick honorable mentions. As I said before, I'm only doing games in the timeline, so sorry, Hyrule Warriors. Even though I loved playing you, both you and Age of Calamity, they weren't able to come onto the list. As well as, we have to shout out the original Legend of Zelda game, like the one that started us off. It is its 35th birthday today, so happy birthday to you, Legend of Zelda. And of course, let's do a shout out to Spirit Tracks, where Zelda fucking dies. So there's that. And of course, no one can forget it. Zelda CDI, playable Zelda, when? Nintendo, come back, let's do it again. And lastly, there's Four Swords, which, must be nice to have friends. So yeah, coming down to number 2 is Breath of the Wild, the new Legend of Zelda game that made this franchise go big on the map. Everyone was talking about it. Everyone was loving it. Everyone played it. People who never played Zelda games before was like, I like this game. Some, not saying names, though, have stopped because they got scared of the Guardians. My god, those things are scary though. Leave me alone, you. But Breath of the Wild really did bring a fresh breath to the franchise that was needed. And though it doesn't really have a place on the timeline, as Aonuma has said, it's just on the timeline, but not where. It's on the timeline. But I mean, okay. Breath of the Wild is just a fun game. I literally have bought it both for the Wii U and the Switch. I really love this game. I love the champions so much. I wish we got some more time with them. And maybe in Breath of the Wild 2, we will get to see some more of them. Because while Age of Calamity did satisfy that itch a bit, I still need more of them. And finally, we have my number 1, which, if you've guessed it by now, it's Twilight Princess. I honestly love this game so much. When this game first was announced, I was super excited. By this point, I was really into Legend of Zelda. I'd already played Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and Wind Waker, and I was just like, I want the next game. And it was kind of the game seller for the Wii. So when they first announced it for both the GameCube and then the Wii, I just needed to have it for both. I love the art style that they use in Twilight Princess, the more mature look that made this story, mature. I love the characters in it, especially you little gremlin. You know, I'll give you gripes, but he was doing the damn thing, and I love the story. It's just so much more of a in depth of what happened after Ocarina of Time, and what if Ganon did come back. Except this time, you also got to meet the Twilight Realm, which, if we're not doing low roll for Breath of the Wild 2, I will look very forward to Twilight maybe being touched upon, because those are two places I would love to explore some more of in the Zelda universe, not just a one off game. This game was also the introduction of Midna, who I'm not gonna say she's the best girl, but I just think she's pretty neat. And honestly, one of the better navigational helpers in the franchise that we get. I'm sorry, Fee. I'm sorry, Navi. I'm sorry, Tattle. I'm sorry, but it's gonna be Midna for me. And there you have it. Those are my top 10 Legend of Zelda games. Leave down in the comments below what your top 10 are, if you agree with me, what you would change from your list. And until next time, ciao for now.